story starts for the Z series cars in 1969 with the 240Z. The then Datsun had a rally champion and people flocked to it in droves. Now, going on for 50 years later, the 370Z is the latest version, 12. The base model was $75,000, which was absolutely ludicrous. Now it's a more reasonable $54,000, if you can call $54,000 reasonable, and this model, which is the Nismo tuned version, is $66,000. Now what you get for your $12,000 is the same size of wheel, 19-inch, but these are hand-forged alloys with 4 piston brakes at the front and 2 piston brakes at the back. You get Nismo tuned suspension, all of the bracing that comes with it, plus you get Recaro seats inside, which are trimmed in leather and Alcantara. If you looked at the specs for this car alone, you probably wouldn't buy it. You'd probably buy something else, because it's now very old. But the thing is, it looks sensational, and it drives how it looks. Let's go for a drive. We're in the 6-speed manual, but it also comes in a 7-speed automatic. In sports mode, the gearbox will blip the engine between downshifts so that the revs are matched and you don't get that kind of jerky back thing. Let's go and test out this Nissan Nismo tuned suspension. But on this section of road, which is very, very twisty and very turny, the gearbox feels light and nimble, and the engine is beautifully, beautifully balanced. There is no blind spot monitoring, no active cruise control. There is cruise control, but it's not active. There's no autonomous emergency braking. There's no forward collision warning. In fact, there are absolutely no gizmos on this car except for the usual suite of safety stuff that you got in cars 20 years ago. Well, okay, 10 years ago. And the car runs on 95 RON petrol. So you are up for slightly more expensive petrol. However, having said that, performance engines usually run on something that needs a little bit more oomph. The Nismo tuned suspension you'd expect to be quite rough and quite awful. But it's not. It is definitely hard, but it's not awful by any means. This car has a few little quirks. For example, there's face level ventilation in the doors because there's no room on the dash. There's not that much room in the boot either. It's quite shallow, but there's a bracing bar in the middle of the boot, as there are under the bonnet and underneath the car. Also, and I don't know if I'd call it a quirk or not, the orange readouts look very much like a 1990s one of those cheap clocks you got from Kmart. And one of the other quirks is this. The steering wheel layout is quite plain, and I'm not absolutely sure I like the up and down buttons, but you use that as part of your audio system and so forth. We'll talk about that in a minute. But, this absolutely leaves me astounded. The cruise control buttons are on this side, and the select set up down button doubles as a horn. Yeah, listen to this. If you press it in, it sounds the horn. Why? Why? Why would you do that? I have no idea. So it is quirky. In the era of LCD screens for dash instruments, this just doesn't cut the mustard. One of the other quirks is that this car, believe it or not, has active noise cancelling. And it also has active sound enhancement for the engine, which means it deadens the sound and then puts in an artificial one. Now, I don't know if you can hear it on the tape or not, but these low-profile tyres are unforgivably noisy on anything but a billiard table surface. It's on really windy roads like this here in the Galston Gorge that the 370 really feels at home. That Nismo suspension is just spectacular. And when I say spectacular, I mean it is brilliant. It's lovely and compliant, and it's just brilliant. The gearbox too, be remiss of me not to mention it, is unbelievably easy to use. Unbelievably easy to use. In many ways, it feels like an automatic. It's light, and the clutch is not at all what you'd expect. I've driven many a sports car where the clutch was just hideous and heavy and frankly almost unusable. But it's the joy of driving. It's just fabulous. And you can hear it blipping the accelerator as we move down through the gears, as we come up to a corner. You expect a hard-edged sports car to be undrivable anywhere else but on a racetrack. But the joy of this is it can't be overstated. And around we go. God, some of those hairpins are hairy. Of course, the thing about this is, although it's not all that long, it is very, very wide. And it feels wide, especially when you're on narrow lanes. But you can really throw it around. It begs you to throw it around. And that's the bit that you cannot see when you just look at specs. It sounds magnificent. So I don't doubt the 0 to 100 time. It's probably a little under 6 seconds. And here on the highway, I'd certainly appreciate smart cruise control. The cruise control seems a little bit primitive. You've got to turn it on, remembering not to press the button down because that'll make the horn blow, and then you've got to set it. It's a little bit annoying. I don't know if you can hear the tyre noise, but on this straight, relatively straight, fairly smooth stretch of tarmac, the tyre noise is amazing. Like, it's really quite loud. I've just had the best day. The best day. That's it. That's Nissan's 370Z Nismo. If you just looked at it on paper alone, it doesn't stack up. But once you get behind the wheel, it is a peach. It is an absolute peach. It's got some downsides, but it's got some upsides too. That's all from us this week. Don't forget, subscribe.